things, the sprinkler bids that we got for the village hall are at the fire department right now. We had a meeting with them last week, and Lieutenant Schuett is.
That's fire sprinklers.
Fire sprinklers. So they'll be going over them, and he'll be making a recommendation back to me, and I'll bring it back to the board. Number two, we have a barrel sitting out front by the entrance. If you haven't noticed it, it's from the Northern Illinois Food Bank and the Lincolnshire Riverwoods Fire Department. They need canned goods. They are pretty right now. It says they need canned meats, soups, stews, chili, fruits, vegetables. So if anybody would like to donate, this whole month of May, we will be collecting canned goods for the needy. And the last item, Saunders Road, we have a sidewalk on the west side of Saunders Road between Deerfield and Thorngate. The sidewalk's been chopped up pretty good. We've got a couple complaints on it. This afternoon I got in touch with the people from Lake County. They will be looking at that sidewalk and getting back to me next week to let us know what they're going to do to fix the repair or replace.
You mean the snow ledge, right? That's the snow ledge, right?
Right, yeah. That's it. Because right now the kids are starting to use that more and more because they finished another sidewalk up along the Riverwoods Road, so it's going to be a thoroughfare.
The other snow ledge.
The other snow ledge, the bigger snow ledge.
Could we just have Russ explain what the fire sprinklers are, because I don't believe the people in the audience knows what it is.
It's fire.
But where it's going to go and why?
That's we're going to sprinkler the village hall. I'm sure everybody knows it's a very old building. We have all of our documentation in here. Prospect 2 years ago lost the village hall, wasn't sprinklered. So I've been to a few seminars, and it's cheaper to sprinkle it than trying to rebuild this or lose all the documentation we have. So we're going to be bidding and hopefully retrofitting the village hall for a sprinkler system.
Yeah, the village engineer tried to get me to say I didn't have anything on the agenda tonight, but I thought we better not go that way. Oh, okay.
Should be ashamed of it. Okay.
It's on the agenda.
Okay. Go ahead, Chuck.
Okay.
We're just testing you.
Yeah, just testing. Just a brief background, I guess, would probably be a little brief summary of where we're at, what we have going on. I think as most people know, gypsy moth has generally been in this area since about the mid-'80s. And it first became an issue in Riverwoods in 2004. And we identified areas that to spray, and this is, I think everyone up there has a copy of this is the same map we had the last time, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. Yeah, Pat made it a little bit bigger for me. So the areas we sprayed in 2004 are the ones that are just single hatch, you know, that cross hatch in two directions. And then in 2007 we sprayed again, and those are the areas that are basically the double cross hatch, which are really from Port Wine Road west and from Deerfield Road south and up to I think it's Junebury. So when we got to this year, what we had done, what was the surprise that we had last year was that up until last year, the places we'd sprayed, we didn't have a recurrence of the problem. And we managed the whole goal was to manage the insect in what we call the hot spots, or the areas where we had the most severe problems. And last year, we noticed the area we just sprayed the time before was inundated. And the most egg masses we found when we did the egg mass survey were right here at the village hall site. So, and when we got into the big population last year, I went out, Kirsten went out, Todd went out, we looked through this area that we just sprayed, and we didn't find virtually any egg masses. So where did they come from? That led me to the Forest Reserve property that kind of surrounds, you know, adjacent to us on the west and the south. It was a virtual explosion last year in the Forest Reserve property, and the primary spread is by two methods. When the first couple of instars, when they first hatch out, they grow in stages they call instars. When they're really new, they blow around in the wind a lot. That's the biggest advance they make. Once they get to the point where that doesn't happen, and the moths emerge, the females don't fly, so they have to walk where they're going. And so the spread of the population through that process is a lot slower. So we put out traps throughout the areas of the village where I wanted to see where the males were moving, because the males were moving farther ahead of time. So we put out a bunch of traps. We had traps with hundreds and hundreds of moths in them. I think that Bill had one at his house, and the mayor had some at one at his house, and we had them across the village. So then we came to the question of, what do we do with this? And we went through those of you at the first meeting we discussed, we talked about the two extremes, and basically to spray the whole village, the area of the whole village was affected, not the entire village had a severe problem, but the area of the village that was most infected was, well, about $130,000 to do that. And when we put our estimates together for this initial spray, the best information we had from the flying service was that the product that they sprayed, doing the spraying was going to be about $50 an acre. And what we had done for this map is we put together a management system that most of the squares on here are 40-acre squares. Thorngate is listed as its own unit. Meadow Lake is listed as its own unit. Ravinia Green and the other golf courses are listed as their own units. But basically the community is divided up into 40-acre parcels. So we figured that does a couple things for us. It gives us a consistent geometry to the areas to measure. The village engineers provided all the GPS locations for those, because when they spray, they fly by GPS location. So it puts a mechanism that we can use as a good base. So for the second meeting we discussed this. We had conversations about, let me back up a second with the forest was the first contact that Kirsten in our office, who a lot of you know, she's the point person on this, and she made contact with Ryerson people and wanted to know if they were going to do any spraying, and they weren't. And then I said, ask them if they minded if we sprayed. Well, they didn't want to do. There's a lot of reasons. I think they don't want us to do that. But at the end of the day, the Forest Reserve is not going to do anything. So the big question is, what's that population going to do this year? Okay? So as we had the conversations, I had identified, as we had done in the past, what I call the hot spots. And those are all the areas that are, the green squares we have on it. And at the first meeting, we were talking about this buffer, and I think it was Trustee Haber that said, well, why don't we consider a buffer within the village limits? So I think that was a good point to bring up, because my feeling is, let's assume that this problem in the forest reserve persists for quite a while. I would see no reason then that we wouldn't have the same kind of an issue, along this part of the community, as long as that happens. So what we did on this map we put together for the second meeting was we provided for that sort of a buffer, plus what we felt were the worst concentrations of things based on resident calls that we use. It's very important to get those. We monitor those. When we go out to one of those residences, we don't just look at that residence. We use that to look at the general neighborhood. So those are just kind of the keys. And also we did our impact survey this year. So at the end of the day, in that last the second meeting, there was a motion made to do these areas, and then it didn't get a second. What we did then was we put in a letter, an article in the newsletter about what actions residents could do and those kinds of things. Our intention too is to put out the traps again, do the same monitoring, do the same response to the resident calls, do all of the AMAS surveys, those kind of things. As this evolved to, let's talk about it, let's discuss it again. Our initial concerns were